welcome to our luncheon session, which is going to focus on digital design centers. That's what I'm calling it for now. It's got a lot of names, and I think that's actually a problem that we've called it option selection and a million other things. I'm going with digital design center. Dennis Webb suggested it, and it's because I'm calling it digital design center because sometimes we say it's not just online, right? It's digital design center has physical design center manifestations. It has online manifestations, and it's important for us to have a term that captures it all. And I really consider this technology, this system, this set of processes for builders to be the heart of transformation, right? This is where it's the connecting point between all we do with digital marketing and selling to, optimize that, to get to this personalization piece, which we've been talking about as being critical as a point of differentiation and also as a revenue and profit driver. And then it also is going to feed downstream to create design and production efficiencies. So it's the heart of the matter, right? And it's been around for 20 plus years. And so it's been around long enough to be optimized. And so now is the time, right? Now is the time for everybody to be all in on this and to understand its value, to make progress on it. And what we're going to do today is we've got 5 of the platform providers here to share stories of their hero customers, hero implementations, so that you get exposed to some best practices, and they all have an assigned time that they've all agreed to comply with. And I actually gave them an extra minute.
Oh, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we won't have anything
Christmas.
to say, John.
Extra minute, and then after we get through those presentations, we're gonna talk about what's the next big thing, what's coming in terms of technology and experience with digital design centers that's gonna even lift the results that we can realize from that. And we have some folks with slides on that and some without. We'll just have a free form open discussion on it. So that's the plan of attack. And we're going to go alpha order starting with A for the first part, and then we're going to go alpha order starting with Z back to A for the next big thing. And George P.
No. You promised that you
Papaioannou. There's a W in there somehow that I don't see.
We're going to have a spelling check at the end of the session.
There will be a quiz at the end of the session on George P. is going to kick us off with AlphaVision. George,
thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for inviting me here, being part of the panel. It's great to be with such esteemed panelists here. You guys have a great history. I'm celebrating my first year in this industry, so I want to say happy birthday to myself.
Celebrating or surviving?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
So, just thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you. As an old friend of mine, VP of Marketing for Sub-Zero Wolf, Paul Luther, said, we are tickled pink to be here. That was his famous line in every event that he was saying. So,
tickles are good things.
It is for sure. So I just wanted, as John said, I wanted to put some light on a couple of key customers of ours that we've done some great work with, and we're continuing that relationship as it relates to options, selections, personalization, right? So Pulte Group, with COVID, as we've been talking about this past day, things have changed, right? Your design centers, your physical space of the design center was no longer as accessible as it was before. So they wanted to bring the experience online under a controlled environment. So with our VR technology that you've experienced through other presentations throughout the day yesterday, we've added an options selection capability to that gaming experience. But at the same time, what they've done is it gave the Pulte sales associates the ability to engage the consumer online remotely without having that gaming experience, that gaming hardware locally. So they'd be able to go in on a virtual appointment, start off the gaming experience, do the virtual tour, and while they're touring, contextually visualize options and personalize the home that they're touring with these options. And so it's an assisted sales approach from this Pulte sales team. So it extended online the design center and the option selection, but at the same time as a guided approach, right? So it increased the engagement with them. They had higher closing ratios, but the most important thing is that it personalized that consumer's home. It's not a model home. It's not a home. It was that home that they were selecting with the options that they wanted, right? So further to that, we extended that to the structural options. So what you're seeing here is some structural options that they would guide the consumer through, adding pricing, being transparent, right? By adding pricing, you're adding the value of the house right now. So you're starting increasing, talked about yesterday, right? How do we make more profitability out of the home? So the more you sell on options and upgrades, that's where the profitability comes up, and you're all making more money. At the same time, giving an educated, guided approach to the consumer of what they're selecting and what they're not selecting, being visual. It's not limited to only the interior. What we're doing also with them right now is from the interior, we're also going on the exterior. Now, traditionally, you've only seen different elevations. You're going from one to the other. The platform allows now to select color schemes or packages or options and even structural. Before, you weren't able to see a covered patio in the back right now, right? So right now, you spin the house around, you put the covered patio over, you visualize it. You can see it, and the consumer can personalize. All this is assisted by the sales team, and it's extended that internal local experience to online. That's what we're doing with Pulte today.
Yeah.
They're experiencing tremendous success in increased engagement rates, tremendous success in more dollars sold per home on the upgrades, right?
Well, you're pushing the design center functionality into what's traditionally kind of the initial sales realm, right? We've had like a two-step process in many ways. And so folks have played around with design center functionality, pre-initial close. This is more of a full flower of that. You don't necessarily have the back-end feed-throughs of a full-blown digital design center platform, but you're enabling an initial sale that's options-rich.
Correct.
And you're doing that with technology and integration with the people piece, so that those sales agents that are getting to the initial sale are participating in the personalization.
Yes, that's exactly right. You know, we heard yesterday that, you know, you're getting leads are coming from everywhere, right? That customer journey is no longer linear, right? So you're getting it from everywhere. So this is an approach that gives us what we can do now. I know I'm getting the 1 minute mark, so I'm going to jump into quickly to D.R. Horton.
Sorry.
So what you're seeing here is a similar approach. D.R. Horton is a little bit less complex as far as option selections are concerned than Pulte, right? It's more packages, pre-approved. So it's the same virtual experience, the same exact approach where they wanted to engage the consumer online, providing the virtual tour, changing package A, package B, and extending that experience, right? So, because one of the things that D.R. Horton said is, I have a lot of overseas buyers. How do I engage them? Right? How do I sell to those buyers? How do I sell to our military, for example? And at the same time, from the home tour, as we saw yesterday that we've done here with Phoenician and Shay, you know, they've embarked on that community streetscape, right? One of the things that we talked about a little bit yesterday, and hopefully the video will show it, is sun orientation. Time of year, time of day, right? Depending on where you want it, you can see where the sun will be at a given time in a given year, and at the same time allow you to select the different options that you have available. Now, for the industry that knows D.R. Horton, I had permission from legal. They crossed every T, dotted every I, and every comma in this statement here. So I'm just going to let you read it, as opposed to me going through it, of what the results are for participating with us.
Can you summarize it?
Yes, I could, definitely. I can try if I can put my eyes on to see better. Basically, what they were doing is a realistic view using the technology, extending that sales reach out to the consumer, right? And showing that home in the consumer's preferences. At the same time, not limiting themselves to the model home, right? Reducing potentially the model homes that they're doing. They're doing in 2 communities right now, no model homes at all.
Cool.
So they're selling the homes through the community VR and the options. You know, we talked about yesterday ROI.
Very good.
It's shifting dollars, right? You're getting your dollars from elsewhere to do this. So these are some of the advantages.
I got to cut you off, or somebody else is going to have to yield you time.
Melissa told me that she would give me an extra minute.
As part of the debate.
Either way.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Great job.
Awesome.
Melissa, your clicker.
Right. Okay, I'm going to talk really, really, really fast. So we'll do it. So I had to rename the title of this session because I'm ornery. So in terms of digital design centers, I wanted to kind of share a little bit of context, the conversation we're having with builders around kind of digitizing the experience. And it's so much, you know, where Shay is and what they're accomplishing. So I had to rename it. So the conversation we're having with builders today, it's all about the journey. And we all kind of map the customer journey, and I think Ken said it really well yesterday. We think it's going to be so linear, and guess what? It's not. It's all over the place. It's crazy. And to your point, you've got to do options in pre-sales and marketing. You got to do it during. You got to do it after. It's all over the place. So the conversation we're having with builders is upping their game. It used to be we had static assets, then we moved to interactive assets, then we moved to kind of envision and pre-sales and options and visualizers, things like that. Today, we're getting into basically online commerce. And it's really moving to how far can you go and how can you get consumers further down that channel, and they want to actually get closer to buying online. So for me, he said, just pick one. And then he said, well, I could pick 2. So I picked 2. So Thorton one, I just want to do a shout out really quick. And I don't know if Dennis is in the room, but you know, he has really been the evangelist for all of us, and certainly he's a big Envision user, but for all of us in terms of making sure we know we're retail, making sure we know that we're actually in the retail space and environment. And he's just been an amazing leader, I think, you know, for all of us. And he believes we have this collective real competition of used homes, and he really gets it. So if you have not met with Dennis, if you've not been to his design center, it's amazing. We're going there tonight. It's absolutely incredible. So the other one that I picked was TriPoint Group. And I picked TriPoint, and I'm just going to kind of play this video so you can get a sense of what it looks like for TriPoint. They use what we call Core Envision. So all of their options in there, it's specific to the plan. They use the manufacturer content that we have. We've got the industry's data engine behind it. They use every piece of it and have amazing results. So they're kind of out there with Core Envision, and that's what most folks are familiar with today. They then took it a step further, and they actually layered on the virtual reality visualizers. So, and you know, way back when we had Envision and for option selection, we had all the content. Then we had, you know, visualizers, then we did virtual reality visualizers. The cool part is they now connect together. So if a consumer wants, they can come in and make those selections from a visual perspective and walk through the house, and whether it's 1 room, 2 rooms, how many, the whole house, they can actually make those selections, and it automatically updates their wish list, and they can see that amazing content from the manufacturers as well. So they've done a really great job of embracing that. and taking it to the next level. And I'll show you just a couple little snips of what that looks like. So obviously it's kind of a VR tour of the entire home. You can walk through, make your selections, leave the room, come back. You can see it. You can actually have multiple wish lists, and then you can reference your mood board, which again is kind of like a throwback, but kind of still really popular when you look at Pinterest and things like that. So they really embrace those pieces. And then the other piece with the VR and visualizers that we've put into it, and there is a patent pending on this, is basically the ability to compare and use slider functionality so that maybe you did the kitchen 2 different ways and you want to kind of just see it side by side. And this one's kind of fun. You can go left and right, you can go up and down, and it just allows the consumer. And again, they're doing this in pre-sales for marketing. They're doing it, post-contract in the design process, and then obviously this lives on in their home folder once they move in and close on the home. So they've done just a great job of embracing everything that's available to them. And then they're going to the next level, and this is where kind of this commerce piece comes in, where builders are trying to enable consumers getting closer to buy. And the way we talk about it, you should be able to be sitting in Hawaii, on the beach, on your cell phone, and be able to buy a home. Now, that's a little ridiculous, perhaps, and maybe you're not going to actually contract, but you should be able to get to the point that it's moving along and you can pretty much sell yourself on the home. So this is kind of what TriPoint looks like utilizing Dreamweaver, and it's basically a curated buyer experience. In the past, we've all had interactive floor plans, we've had interactive site plans, we've had visualizers, we've had Envision, but they were kind of disparate pieces on our website. What Dreamweaver does and what TriPoint has embraced is curating that buyer experience. So that buyer can go through, pick their lot, pick their floor plan, pick their options, do the visualizer, and by the way, they can do that in any order they want, because the builder may have a preference on how they want to guide the buyer, but guess what? The buyer may have their own idea of where they want to start. Maybe they want to start with the floor plan, maybe they want to start with the lot, who knows? But it's a curated experience with single sign-on, so that at the end of that, what happens is the consumer has a full tear sheet of the house they've designed, all the options and products. This is just kind of half of it. It's got beautiful imagery. It's available online. They can print it off if they want to, and they know the complete price. They then can actually click a button, say, make an offer, send it to the builder, or it goes to the builder because they're going to create an account. These are the most incredibly deep, rich leads, and they close because I basically designed my house. I know how much it's going to cost. I know exactly what's in it. Now, will this be the final price? Probably not, because obviously they're going to consult with the salesperson and the design person. There's more work to be done, but this is someone really attached to this house that they've really designed. So it's an incredible opportunity. And as you're thinking about commerce enablement, guess what? You've got to think about some of these bigger issues. And usually, I find this list really, really boring, but the CIOs and CTOs and my folks think it's really exciting stuff. But it is really important because you're now starting to get into that commerce world. So you want to think about that. So I think, just my parting comment is online commerce isn't a dream. Builders are out there, they're embracing it today. They're making a ton more money per home and reducing the model homes that they have to build. So got to start somewhere, so get going.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Ryan.
All right.
You have some corporate news, right?
I do, yeah. I'm Ryan Thorton. I'm the co-founder of INSEARCH, and as of 3 weeks ago, we were actually acquired by ECI. So they have LotView, Lasso, Mark Systems. So I think a lot of what I'm going to speak to today, I think keep in mind about the integration. So integrating all these great platforms, and even everybody that's sitting up here. She just played Writer Homes. We're on the sales side of that, and we actually integrate their Envision Design Center into our software as well. So when you walk into the Writer sales home, you actually see our Sales Interactive, and you see Envision as well. So even a lot of us up here integrate as well together. So with that acquisition, we're just really excited to combine their decades of experience, ECI's experience in the building industry, and enhancing our development, customer success, strategies going forward, and all to help you guys sell your inventory and your options at higher profits and faster. Today I'm going to take a little bit different approach. I've met with most of you guys already in our boardrooms yesterday and did the demos, so I'm just going to talk more specifically about a couple of our clients' success stories. So the first client here is Signature Homes in Alabama and in Tennessee. And 2020, they built 550 homes, and they're projected to do about the same this year. We met them at IBS actually in 2020 and had their first community live on our sales platform by April 1st. And then we proceeded to launch 3 more communities throughout the year, and now we have actually 9 communities live with them currently. And so we were fortunate enough to actually have the same 4 communities that they were selling in 2019 as the same that we launched with them in 2020. So they were gracious enough to allow me to reveal what they made over 2019 and 2020. So you can actually see that they doubled their home sales from 2019 to 2020, and they also doubled their option sales as well. So basically what happened? How were they able to achieve a successful interactive campaign? And we've spoke to it already. Full transparency, revealing the pricing online, letting the buyer experience not only selecting their options, but actually see how much it costs. They're understanding that they're not competing with the builder down the street. More so, they're competing with how the consumer is buying everything else. It's kind of that Amazon buying experience. And so we integrated with Newstar's, or with Signature's ERP, which was Newstar, which enabled our software to pass real-time information to the home buyer so they can make informed decisions. So buyers are seeing real-time pricing, able to not only choose their options, but understand the cost implications as well. And buyers they're printing their custom brochures at home and actually walking into the sales centers and handing them off and saying, this is what I want. So you can see on the right-hand side there, this is one of their kiosks in their sales centers. Sales agents walking in, using the exact same software. Pricing is up to date since we're connected with ERP, and they're finalizing that sale.
That's a key piece, isn't it, Ryan? It's just that you don't want the online experience and the in-person experience to be disparate, because you start to jar and confuse people, right? Yeah,
and I think that's one of the technological advancements is now we can all be cloud-based. So now we can integrate on the web and then also have that same platform in the sales center as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump into a second community here. So this is Genuine Communities. They're doing about 350 homes a year, and they're located in northern Nevada, and they've contracted 17 communities with us currently, and they're on our sales and design center platform.
I like that name.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like another Greek name that I couldn't pronounce, but
Oh, give it a try.
more like the Wonders.
That's the owner's 2 middle names put together.
Oh.
That's how they came up.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Clever.
That last slide was just a quick example of how they have their design center set up. So you can see our software is actually integrated into the design center as well. So they're using it as a selection tool. They are connected with Mark Systems, so all the information is pulled across. We provide all the manufacturer model and images as well, so they don't have to actually go find all that stuff themselves. And with the integration, we're able to not only allow for more meetings in a day, but we were also able to reduce the selection time per option. So on average, they're down to just under a minute per selection, and they were actually doing 2 to 3 sessions before, and now they actually are doing it all in one session. So they come in and sit down, selecting all their options, and they can move on. And they're actually reducing change orders as well by that visual component as well. So this is a quick example of the integration. So, and you know, especially even the integration with the manufacturers, pulling in all the images and descriptions and all that. So,
how compliant are manufacturers these days on feeding these tool sets?
they're getting
better.
It's increasing.
Oh,
Better.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is it's live, at least in our case, it's live with so many builders out there. It's mission critical because consumers are looking at it, and the minute it's not,
That's a change.
yeah, it's good.
Good.
Well, my name is Jeff Trapp with Interior Logic Group. Very excited to be up here with other of our peers, industry professionals. And for us, with our business, we're the largest provider of outsourced design studios across the country. So we have over 100 design studios that we operate with our builder clients and partners out there. And we're the largest interior finishes installation provider out there, flooring, cabinets, countertops. So as we have through the years crafted our technology solutions, we're speaking from a spot of we're in the homes installing, seeing the issues and items that need to be addressed. We're meeting with over 30 to 40,000 home buyers a year, hearing their direct feedback. So as we've crafted our platform of solutions, it's coming from, as we call them internally, advisory council, but we're hearing directly from, I need this, I want this. I need visualization to provide to get the buyer happy, to get them signed off. How do we reduce the cycle time? How do we drive increased option sales? So we speak from a unique place and where we sit here today. For the hero customer, I was going to bring up Ken Peterson with Shea, but I think I know Ken and the preview last night. I think we had such a good preview of that. So tilting to another one of our key clients being Taylor Morrison here in their Phoenix division. So if we tilt back to the scars we all have from March of 2020, it's a division that sells and closes nearly 2,000 homes a year. We operate their design studio here in the Scottsdale market, just downstairs from Cheryl and her corporate team co-located in the same office. So when March hit, they did not have a digital platform. Our designers then had to figure out how do you meet with a pace of nearly 2,000 buyers a year, get them finalized while driving increased option sales. So when the situation hit, one, we stood up digital platform, online options, online catalog, design studio being able to, whether it Ring Central, Zooms, Teams, whatever platform, work with the buyer, to be able to conduct the 1 or 2 appointments per buyer, to be able to show them their digital catalogs, through the course of time, retrofitting the design studio whereby glass partitions, which we've all got to be normal, even if you're checking in across the street at the hotel, glass partitions, but at the time of what do we do here? How do we accommodate for this situation? Because for all of us with our designers, you've got 3,500 square feet. How do you fit in with whether local municipality requirements of how many people can fit within the space, and then be able to get the buyer signed off on? In this case, it really is a testimony to our team that you're maintaining from the time the contract was signed with digital catalogs, online option preview with their pricing, come into the studio with real-time pricing on their flooring and other options, and being able to maintain a cycle time of 15 to 16 days from contract to buyer signed off. So with that process, there was a lot of things we had to conquer along the way of, if you hear people like Dennis tonight of the old school days, if you had a 60-page packet of information, okay, we got COVID, we have to go to completely digital sign-off, which is harder than we all think about because not just DocuSign and all this sign here, going back to all of our attorneys that we've got to have all these documents signed. So our team did an amazing job. So you've got 16-day cycle time, you've got a paperless process, you're driving increased sales of 25% plus more, and these are really the haymaker option margin categories for the builders that really did empower them for where they wanted to be. And in this situation, this is absolutely their top survey score division, their biggest division. That really is a testimony to the team, the technology that got stood up, the visualization that was available to the buyers there. And then the last piece, never to cut this short, is how do you provide the analytics back to the builder in a way that helps them operate their business even better? Because in a lot of cases is what's your options margins, what's your top selling options with your take rate data? A lot of our builder clients don't know. So with the wealth of data we're able to provide back to them, integrated back into their system to really complement everything else in the ERP, it really becomes that full suite of, I know what my buyers want, are they happy, and what can we do better to service their needs, but also make the builder more profitable. So I know that from that one hero case here in the backyard, if anybody's making any tours locally, in addition to the Ken's, and then seeing Dennis's studio tonight, very impressive operation, very proud to be a partner of theirs, and continue to drive success for them.
So are you in a position operating the outsourced design center and the technology on the analytics front? I mean, does that simplify some of the data aggregation and, you know, the completeness of the analysis for the builder?
Absolutely. I mean, really the only thing we're missing, because we get all the data from the buyer from the time they're looking at the home to the time they sell the contract, how much they buy, the life cycle of them beyond closing to understand everything that happened with the buyer there.
Yeah.
The only thing the builder needs to add in is their confidential margin information, because they're not going to share that with an outsourced provider.
Yeah.
They add their margin calculations to it, and you have the full picture there.
I think next year we're trying to get more visuals up on the screen, because it's show and tell. I hope you all agree that show and tell is more compelling, but we talk a lot about analytics and data and we never show it, right? Like, because there's like spreadsheets and there's spreadsheets, and there's like how even to see without the numbers from individual companies being disclosed what the report formats look like. If we could start showing some of that stuff, I think it'll be helpful. Would that be helpful to the audience? Okay, I see nodding heads.
Yeah, we've got just a screenshot of some of the visuals here, and we stood up in Power BI, but tremendous, and we love to share with this group because it makes us all better.
Yeah. Good. Okay, you pass the baton to Carolyn. Carolyn, tell us a little bit about Studio Chateau before you launch in.
So Studio Chateau obviously is an options management system, and we do a lot of integrations. One of the hero client that I was going to speak about today, who prefers not to be named, and that's their right too, if they, they like to act like it's just all their system working throughout, and we're okay with that. But that's what I'm here to talk about. Studio Chateau's tagline is the magic of design. And of course that means many things, and the marketing people made that up, but it certainly refers to the magic of the technology ecosystem, where builders and design centers can manage the new home construction process and the options process seamlessly. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today. So for us and our client, we have several integrations. So we've been working with them about 10 years, and our integrations are between Studio Chateau, Salesforce, and SAP. So information flows back and forth between all of those items to have everything work paperlessly for buyers and for the builder office as well.
Yep.
So for us, it all starts with the custom catalog. These are actually created in Studio Chateau for this particular client. We have other clients where they're created in their other system and we upload those catalogs. You can go either way. So once this custom catalog is created, it's then downloaded into Salesforce so that it has that information as well. As soon as Salesforce gets that information, then they send back all of the phase lot plan information so that everything's ready to go. We're all ready to see home buyers. So even the builder options are entered into Studio Chateau. Those are actually ordered by salespeople at the sales office, but that information is then downloaded into Studio Chateau so that there's one central place where, whether it's the sales office, the design center personnel, or field personnel, they can go one place and see everything that's purchased on this house. So home buyers receive an automated email that directs them to the builder website, where they can log on to Studio Chateau and view their custom catalog. They can also see the room visualizer with model images. They can do a wish list, they can do a mortgage calculator, and a lot of things we've all talked about that we have here. Is it missing a slide?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, that's okay. And we also have a placement diagram that works for electrical and low voltage options, where homebuyers can drag and drop the images that they would like to have in their home, like if they want to add pendant lights or security systems, anything like that into the system. So along the way, homebuyers receive automated notifications telling them about their cutoffs, telling them about their next appointment at the design center to ensure that all the deadlines are met as it goes along the way. Integration-wise, nightly option orders, flooring orders, revisions, cancellations, anything that happens that day is downloaded into Salesforce overnight so that escrow and sales always has the most up-to-date information on their side so that sales contracts can work out as well. And then even the purchasing department. So this particular client uses Studio Chateau to process all their purchase orders. So those are auto-emailed out to the trades. And that information, again, goes over to Salesforce and it goes to SAP so they can gather all of those costs. So once a buyer is finalized to stage, all of the signed paperwork is also uploaded into Studio Chateau. And then once they're finalized, all that information transfers over to Salesforce for record keeping for the clients. Now, our client also, they have created a proprietary customer service tool that integrates with Studio Chateau. So their field personnel is out there with their iPads. They can walk the houses. They can check off which options have been installed, which ones haven't been installed. And what's really great about this system, too, is it connects to SAP's accounting system, letting SAP know, hey, this option has been installed. It's okay to pay the cabinet guy in this house. So the trades get paid timely, and we're not waiting for superintendents to sign off on tons and tons of vendor notices.
Carolyn, is Studio Chateau for your local builders, are you doing the installation work, or are you just providing them with tool sets to manage the installation work?
So our sister company, Chateau Interiors, is a full-service design center, and we do installation. So, yes. So right now, our latest and greatest is that we are working on our contract module to interact with the client, and that's going to help them set up their on-site contracts and will also allow for the automatic sharing of vendor information at the beginning of a community. So all of that will all be pre-set up, making the catalog creation even faster.
Right. So that's your next big thing, right?
That's our next big
thing. So you're
thing.
kicking off our next big thing segment.
Exactly.
And in appropriate alphabetical order.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I tried.
So pass the, you don't have slides on this, Jeff, but we'll pass the baton to you anyway, and we'll come around. We have some slides from Ryan, the under E and under group here. But you know, what is your thought on? Yeah, it's a good group. What's your thought on next big things in digital design centers, particularly?
Yeah, so I think some of the things is, as you look at post-close, like we've talked about, the ability to digitize and take the selections and the post-close items like furniture, can you link off of that from the visualizations and that customer for life, those post-close purchases? I think that's one element. One item more near term for us is an idea that we're pursuing right now is whether you have a physical design studio like we have or whether you have a suite of digital technology, there's still that need for that physical sample that the buyers want. So I know whether it's Material Bank or some other companies we're pursuing now, the ability for the buyer to get samples shipped to their personal home. I think there's a nice blend, and some people have some different feelings about that actual physical sample being in the buyer's hands based on die lots and different items. But I know for me as a consumer and many others, it's like, hey, I love it. I like the visualization, features and benefits of the catalog, but I want to see the product, and I want to see it next to my furniture or whatever else in your future home.
Are you
That's
doing
an
that
element.
already, or are you on the way to doing
We're
that?
pursuing it, yeah. So it's one of those items that I know we're in that kind of like branded gift package box at the moment of euphoria when you open it up, like, hey, this is cool, excitement with the gift wrapping in it. And there's a few companies out there, Material Bank being one that does this now, that will do the white label builder branded box or otherwise. That's something I think is a nice pairing, because as much as we go to digital, there needs to be something physical arranged with it, whether it's studio or the sample is delivered to your house.
Yeah, and I like that premium out-of-box experience idea. That's great. That's cool. And where do you think they need those physical, tangible assets most across the kind of the finishes categories?
It's the color items. I think Nancy G yesterday, it's the flooring, it's the cabinets, the countertops, the wall tile. It's where the buyers still want to see what those look like.
Yeah.
And it's also for where our builder partners, that's where your margin dollars come from.
You're taking me back to my Spiegel catalog days. You used to be in the printing business.
Yep.
We used to cut swatches of clothes on sweaters and send them to the printer, because if the color was off this much, we'd get incredible.
were so
It was the bane
picky.
of our existence. We were supposed to be copywriters, and we're putting
I
swatch
know. And those
things.
middle of
Do you
the
remember?
night press runs.
Remember the glue pots and the pica sticks? Okay.
Totally.
All right, sorry. Flashback. Over, old. Let's go. Ryan, next big thing. You got slides.
All right, I have a few slides here, yeah. So for us, really the next big thing is seeing the online home buying experience, actually being able to sit at home and select your options. And I think the biggest part is, as technology continues to advance, even computers and devices continue to advance, I think we're going to get to that point where it's going to be very easy for somebody to sit at home and achieve this. So, I think quite simply, that's really the next big thing for us is working toward that. And then also, again, I'm going to go back to the integrations. So having that one source of communication, that one source of data that we can pull from, so there's no duplicate information, and we can stay consistent and stay real time. I think that's going to be very valuable.
Ryan, what are the missing links to us getting that buying from your living room
I think
thing account?
Yeah, not to get too technical, but like WebGL, like online, like in-web rendering and things like that. I think when that starts advancing a little bit more, I think that's where you're going to be able to do it.
This is underlying technology
so-
that's going to make it more efficient
Yeah.
to create the kinds of renderings that you're.
Yeah. You have home buyers still using Windows XP, so it's
Wow.
so we need to, as we continue to advance and actually have the computing power to provide these while you're sitting on your couch at home.
Oh, cool. Melissa, your baton.
Excellent. All right. So two different concepts. One, totally, and Jeff and I have talked about this a lot in the past. It's about the data and the insights. And we've kind of been on this journey of, initially years and years ago, we had canned reports that were so pretty and amazing. But then we kind of stepped it up in terms of, Google APIs and integrating with builders, Google Analytics so that you could do that. Now we've gotten into kind of insights. So not just feeding the data to you so you can see it, but actually feeding insights to you, comparing to other builders, your markets, your different design centers. So starting to kind of give some insights. And we have a whole series of this as well for the manufacturer population, who's an important part of this puzzle, so they too can see what's happening out there. So now we're going into cloud-based data warehousing, so moving into that, so builders can just pull the data, they can use it in Power BI and knock themselves out from that perspective. And then the next phase is really getting into AI and machine learning. So some of these are actually not coming, they're actually like launching right now. But one is BDX InScene. So we have a product image classification tool. So it basically can look at any image and it can identify the objects, it can identify the brands, and that's really helpful, especially with all the manufacturer content that we have, hundreds of thousands of SKUs. You can actually go through and quality score those images, pick out what do you want to be that kind of first image, that hero image. You can also look for any kind of errors or issues to go, okay, this is supposed to be a refrigerator, but it's a dishwasher, right? And then there's all kinds of commerce things that we're going to be getting into as part of that as well. And then dynamic pricing. We don't really today use a lot of science around the pricing of products. It's really hard and complex, and it's kind of what Jeff was mentioning about, if I raise the price by 10%, does my take rate go down, but my overall margin goes up? It's a lot of data, and we have all of these products. So what's exciting is we now have so much data, and we have so many builders, and we have so many homes going through that you can start to get into the analysis of that and help with predicting pricing, and it truly should be dynamic, which it typically isn't in our industry. And then smart product filters, so just things like we're kind of used to in other products. A lot of builders do try to group together packages, or maybe they have styles, but consumers may have different concepts of that. So smart product filters using metadata so that if I happen to be looking kind of at all white products, maybe it suggests some other white products, right? Other things that kind of should go together, could go together, so help that consumer through the process.
That's AI enabled, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then recommendation, engines just boost your buying confidence, show things in my budget, show me what other people like, similar products, very similar to the smart product filters. So the really cool part is, again, as we get into, we really are retailers, and we're now getting into online commerce. I mean, that's just where we're at. So we've got to start utilizing the tools and the things that are available to us, just like other industries. So super exciting.
Yeah, so you mentioned the data analytics and getting them to the manufacturers. Is that happening now or not?
It is.
Is it just a burden for them to provide assets and they don't get the analytics?
Those poor manufacturers. We're so...
Well, they always are asked to pay for everything, including sponsorships at this event.
I know. No, absolutely. We call it Envision Insights. So we're pulling that for them now. And we've sat down with several of the manufacturers. They absolutely love it because they actually, in their kind of more retail channel, they tend to utilize things like that. But in the builder channel, it can be this big black hole, right? Because they're really retailing their products through thousands and thousands of builders. So they don't always have those insights. So it's available now for them.
It's available. They're just starting to use it, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Not widespread usage or awareness.
Well,
And who wants that at the manufacturer? Is it the sales and marketing types, or who?
It's usually the builder channel, whoever owns that, builder. So
channel.
Erica from GE that I met in Louisville, she's all over it, right? And you just think about how she operates and how she thinks.
Yeah.
To her, this is like the keys to the kingdom. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
George.
Thank you. So we've been talking about it for the past couple of days. I think next big thing is transact a home online, right? Everybody's racing there. It's e-commerce, right? How many of you have bought things on Amazon? Raise a hand, right? Wayfair. I was privileged to be part of the team that 10 years ago, IKEA started selling kitchens online. We implemented that system. Nobody would have thought of being able to do something like that, right? And still people are wondering how you can make it happen. What is the most complex product category in a home? Your kitchen, right? I grew up there, and that's how IKEA has been successful in selling it online. There is technology today that we're enabling our platform to provide for that type of transaction online. Visually demonstrate the finishes, not only the options, the packages, but also the structural upgrades to showcase the different finishes. And not only the finishes, but the upgrades. Look at the slide right now. You're going from a standard kitchen to a gourmet kitchen shop, right? You're going to be able to add to see the kitchen from a pendant lights or not pendant lights. And this is now not an assisted approach. It's a self-served approach where it's really on the dreaming stage where you're engaging that consumer and you're guiding them by the hand on how to make their own personalization of their future home up to the point of transaction. Right? This is the next big thing from us. One approach. The other thing that is also important, and I'm going to go back to my Greek roots on this one, is serving up content based on personality traits, right? Archetypes here. We're all in commerce, we're in retail. We're spending a lot of dollars in design centers, in product education. We have designers out there in design centers that are experts in trying to provide those curated selections to the consumer. Well, with AI technology right now, you can start predicting those patterns, right? You can start aligning and offering content that people can relate to their personality traits, right? Whether you're a leader, whether you're a magician, whether you have those character types. So I have an example here that I'm showing with you because we are doing that, not with AlphaVision. I'm part of the board of Bellwith Keeler, which is a decorative hardware company, and we're going to launch this at this kitchen and bath show in February in Orlando. And this is just to give you an idea of how we're doing it with personality traits. So how do you put together a product assortment that speaks to a personality trait of individuals? So as you're looking and you're guiding that approach and that from start to finish, being presented with content that is personalized to your taste. Right? A few years ago, American Woodmark started a brand for the dealer market. They were never in the dealer market. They were great for builders, but they were never in the dealer market. They was the fastest growing dealer brand in the kitchen industry. They went over 1,000 dealers in 18 months. They did that with personality assessment.
Yeah. George, I think you're hitting on an important point, and there's so much technology, analytics, there's so much to manage here, and there's so much data science being applied, but we've got to get to this emotional piece too, because buying is emotional. People gotta want it. So it's like, we can have efficient experiences, we can have well-organized experiences. That doesn't mean that they're entertaining, emotionally compelling, and make somebody want stuff.
Correct.
So to me, that's one of the frontiers that I didn't hear a lot about, or I don't see a lot of in the existing platforms, is how are we gonna make this fun? How are we gonna make it self-expression? How are we gonna make it social? These things that touch people here and make them, it's kind of Sandler school selling, right? Somebody's gotta want it before they wanna hear all the logic behind it. So where are we going on that? What can we do?
Well, we're there in a way, right? We're just haven't integrated because we have great individuals in all our companies here that are doing that hard work behind the scenes. Now that work can then be automated with a technology that can be served online. There's no more privacy out there, right? Privacy is gone. They know you're using Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. With the technology the way that it is today, they can predict your pattern. They can predict what you like, what you don't like, what you want. And you add that to the great talent that we have out there in our companies, you can automate this and put it as part of the offering that we're offering of the industry out there.
Other thoughts?
I mean, I think, I hear what you're saying, that AI and technology may not sound super sexy, but I think it's in support of sexy, right? Because through AI, the way to delight a consumer is to serve up something that they didn't have to go hunt and peck for. That through, understanding their preferences, understanding what they're searching, understanding what other people search, you're just naturally serving up to them what they want. And that is super sexy, right? It is giving them what they want. And I think we've known forever, consumers have wanted to be able to design their houses online like they do their tennis shoes and everything else. We're just slow as an industry because it's hard, right? It's been hard. But technology today and our systems and how we can integrate, we can actually open up the floodgates. And I think that is really delighting consumers.
Yeah.
They were already there.
Yeah.
We panicked when COVID hit and builders were calling going,
It makes it
"Hey."
easier for them for sure, and they're going to buy more, but
Right.
remember the emotional component that you had in your why buy new versus used commercials.
Right.
I'm not saying that fear is the message here.
Right.
But how do we allow room for emotion and entertainment? I mean, these are grueling processes to some extent, right?
Oh, they
I don't know. I mean, people are spending a lot of time. They're making a lot of picks.
Right.
There's buyer's fatigue in the traditional in-person 3-appointment design center thing. There's buyer's fatigue here. It's just a different
Well,
type.
and
So
I
how
think-
do we relieve
right, but
that?
I
How do
think
we
that's-
address that?
I think that's why you're seeing virtual reality and you're seeing visualizers, so we'll allow consumers or builders to use go through your option selection, but consumers really do want to do it through VR or through visualizers. They want to actually play with it and do it, and then just build my wish list behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of stuff that gets them. And they were excited without that. I mean, they spent a ton more money. They were much happier before we had that, but I think the visualization is.
How do we bring cool and interesting people, human beings, into the middle of all this automation and data and I mean, like,
We're not
people like you. Well,
we are
you're
cool
here.
and interesting.
You're here
I mean,
with
like,
me.
wow.
I don't get that. Right?
think we should
You guys are all
just
cool,
walk
but you're not on your platforms. Are there live human beings that actually make appearances, cameo appearances?
Yeah, I think at a certain point there is. As I just got my treadmill and the iFit, and you're watching people, there's a market for that, but I think we've got to be able to capture what we've got, because we've caught up a long way in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
But we got to execute on what this is, and there's a personal component to bring it home.
Well, would I
think is
want
out there
to?
next generation.
Would I want to? If I'm going through this experience myself, would I want to know who else is going through it and maybe wants to do it in a social way?
I think putting home buyers together and that are working together is very helpful for them. And I also think that while there are people that absolutely know what they want, there are people that don't know what they want. And I think that's where you need to make sure you have really dynamic designers that understand current trends, understand and can read people and kind of understand what they're saying and help them develop their home, the way that they want it. Because some people just aren't capable of doing that.
There
all
are
by
people
themselves.
who can't make decisions. They just
Right.
can't. They need a group to help them make a decision. They need sometimes they need to be told what the decision should be.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but they need to be guided, right?
Yeah.
It's a guided approach that goes back to the personality a little bit. Is if you're guiding them with some key questions, you can guide them to the fountain of youth, right? This is where I want. This is where I want to be, and I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And there's key people. Designers are key. Play a key role in identifying these key questions
Yeah.
because they do it every day. Right? They do it. It's something that's there. So they're key individuals on helping build this new culture, I would say, right? Because the platform of sharing or collaboration is already there. From the moment that an individual experiences a fantastic experience with any product, it's either on Facebook or Instagram, right? Automatically. So that's going to help the industry grow, in my mind, as we're getting this better automated experiences where that collaboration will happen instantly.
Yeah.
And with the builders that are ahead of the curve right now on the transact home online, who are a little bit of the trendsetter, they've got a virtual sales agent at the ready for that
Right.
buyer that's going to buy a house virtually.
Absolutely.
Because that reassurance of I'm going to hit a button and pay however many hundreds of $1,000s for a house, there's got to be somebody there at the ready that you can talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's not about technology replacing people. It's about technology and digital enabling people. It's enabling and empowering consumers, and it's also enabling and empowering our designers and our employees, and giving everybody the tools that they need. It's not replacing them.
Right,
think
kind of
even-
take out that drudgery part of it, so it is more fun
Yes.
and
Yeah.
more exciting because things go more smoothly.
We got to be aware of the drudgery piece here. We got to be vigilant against the drudgery piece, just because, and it's the nature of the beast. There's so much to choose. There's so much to work through. We got to make it less worky, you know?
Yeah, yes, we do. But I mentioned earlier, right? The kitchen is one of the most complex product offerings out there, and that industry has been successful in getting that automation to a level where you can buy a kitchen online. We're not that far off. Yeah. We just need to keen in a little bit, and we're there.
Yeah.
I think even if you look at it internally too, we're talking about sharing it on Facebook into the world, but even internally within the family, now you're getting to incorporate the kids in decisions and everything like that. And even what we're playing with our design center software is actually allowing the husband and the wife to make their selections and then exporting a report
husband and wife
that compares everything together. Just trying to
deconflicting tool. That's what we need.
But you need.
We could apply it here and then on a lot of other things.
But
you
guess
focus
what?
on what you need to focus on,
and you can do multiple wish lists, and then you can actually feed back to them where they agree and where they don't quite agree.
And we can have an analyst make a cameo.
Exactly.
Appearance.
Just pop up and do a little therapy.
I like it.
Which is usually our designers having to do that, but we can do that.
I would love to hear some of those war stories.
Yeah. Gina from KB has some stories.
Are there any questions out there? Because we're having a great old time talking up here, but does anyone else?
Go left side.
Okay, here we go.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Question for the Envision. If we could go back a couple slides, I think it was AI based off best practices for like floor and decor. Yeah,
this
that
one?
guy. The data-driven AI projects. So it says that you would apply the best practices modeled after these guys, but what in particular would be your data points and how would you track them?
You mean like within Envision, what you're looking at?
Or it says here that you'd apply those best practices. I guess I'm wondering what best practices are. And
so it's kind of, it may be best practices, maybe features is a better word. So it's kind of like when you're on Amazon and it starts to understand what you're looking at and starts to feed you more things like that, right? So it's kind of those features and those support items that we find super helpful, but they're kind of driven by technology that's actually helping the consumer and feeding those things to them.
And would you A/B test it based off of like a competitor site of Amazon or Wayfair or something? Like to see which one actually performs better?
Well, I don't think you're going to pick up and use exactly what they're doing because you're going to use data from kind of the home building world, right? Because buying a faucet at Home Depot is very different than buying a faucet through a builder, right? Very different experience. When you're buying a faucet at Home Depot, you want to know how to install it. You want to know, what's the packaging like, all that good stuff. When you're buying a faucet through a builder, that stuff's irrelevant. So the data that we'll use is all within kind of Envision and the builder option world.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that was my question is where would that data come from?
Yeah.
Right? All right, cool.
Who else? There we go. Finally broke the ice on the question.
I know.
With a variety of options and upgrades and features, how do you, through your platforms, fight the overwhelming, scary feature that people still have? They get so far down the line as they, build their burrito, so to speak, and they're like, this is just too much for me to handle right now, so I'm going to stop. And while we are all builders and this all makes sense to us, I like to put things in the perspective of, is my mom going to know how to do this? And if the answer is no, I still have to help her book Southwest flights. And if, that's something that seems pretty easy to most digital natives at the least. So how are you guys finding, especially as we in America see an increase in average age of buyer that perhaps is, not as digitally native?
Yeah, so I can take that one if you want, John. One, I will tell you, 5 to 10 years ago, that was a bigger challenge, right? I mean, some of our, aging population really were not, to your point, they're not digital natives. We're seeing less and less in that, right? Boomers are much more digitally native and progressive. And so a lot of active adult communities are using it. I mean, they're able to navigate it. Your kind of first question was, how do you deal with that overwhelming at times selection and choice? And there's kind of two ways to cut at it. One you will see some builders who have gone to more package routes, right? So they'll, from their perspective, they're kind of simplifying that into package selections, and so the tool enables that. Other builders, highly focused on choice, like KB and Toll and those folks, and they have a lot of options, but I think if you think about it from, as a buyer, I'm just seeing my floor plan in that particular community and the options and choices that I have for that. So I'm not seeing the thousands and thousands and thousands of SKUs that perhaps like a KB or a Toll offers. I'm just seeing what you kind of offer for me. And they are grouped into either rooms, right? You can kind of go by room or you can go by category.
Just a quick follow-up. Do any of the platforms you guys currently work with offer the opportunity to have sort of like, I don't want to say an auto pick feature, but a recommended pick feature? So if you get, I don't need to have an opinion about hinges, or I don't need to have an opinion about powder room door handles. Is
Right.
there like a recommend, like,
Absolutely.
we've seen you pick
Yep.
these 4 things because you're like, this wine goes well with this meal, so like we're going to take care of it for you.
Exactly. And then even in our tool, the designers can create kind of recommendations. It's almost like you can call them what you want. I call them designer favorites, where they've kind of curated a collection, or you could curate the collection that's the model home that they saw, because they make, a lot of times they just go, that model home's great. And they can start there, and then they might, tweak a few things. So there's a lot of things that you can do through the tool to kind of make it a little less overwhelming.
Right over there, Jeanette. Gina?
I have a question around choice. So picking a countertop, cabinets, flooring may be easy online, especially with visualizers now. But selecting technology for a customer can be scary. And therefore, that's something that we've not been able to really lean on our online tools quite as much. How do you see, what's the future of that? And how do you see us leaning into online technology, visualizers being able to help us sell technology that customers understand?
Can I answer that one? Because I work with I resemble that remark.
I knew you were going to
I just think most of the technology manufacturers are almost unaware of the digital design center dimension. They haven't even, they've been banging their head against the wall so hard to just get it offered for 30 years that they haven't gotten here yet. I think we need to get more of the manufacturers to the party and to think through. It takes some explaining, right? It's not obvious what a control panel does or what the differences are of a speaker. So there's explaining to be done. They need to understand these selling environments, and we need to work with them to develop better assets to make it easier. They're just not there yet.
Well, I think we actually have a panel tomorrow on something about this, but I think it's about, when you look at visualizers and VR tours, it's actually the perfect place to sell it, because it's not about selling the technology and how the panels work or what these things do. It's the lifestyle. It's like, and I think they need help creating more content that is more lifestyle, because you don't care how it works, but it's like, oh, whole home security system, that means, and there's something about your life that is better.
And then we've got stuff like indoor air quality, right? Like, how do you show that? So you don't show it, and then nobody wants to talk about ASHRAE 62.2 on a buying platform. So we got to help them develop their messages.
I think this is your life mission, isn't it? Isn't this just? I think it's John's life mission.
I think it's my purgatory,
You're
my
not
personal
doing
purgatory.
very well. I mean, we only have so many years left.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ray of sunshine.
I'm aware. My wife made me aware of that recently. What else?
Hi. So over the past 2 days, I've noticed that a lot of this is geared towards production home builders and people building 50, 100,000 houses a year. Me being a 100% custom luxury builder, I build 10 to 12 houses a year tops, from $5 to $15 million per home. I see the benefit in the Digital Design Center. However, I don't see a way to implement it. I know, John, you mentioned Barry Hensley yesterday. He's in my CBUSA group. You want people like us to start implementing these things.
Yeah.
I don't see how.
Well, if you got together, you could aggregate and share some of the burdens and I know you all want to be custom, but you might want to standardize on some process sets and some selections, and that puts you in a position to utilize these tools. They are not as expensive as you think they are either. I don't know who wants to speak to that, but.
Well, right, I was going to say, instead of the idea of coming up with like a whole general catalog, even you're building custom homes, but you have ideas of what people might be interested in, what style of home do they want, what's their design aesthetic, and you could put together catalogs that speak to that and have the visual to show people in one place what they could do with the interior of their homes, and even create a wish list. Even you wouldn't necessarily have to have costing associated with it if that all becomes custom, but to at least be able to show them those visuals and help people make those decisions without running all over the place.
Yeah, and I would also add the electronic catalog of products you offer, even if it's only 80% of it, giving the buyer to shop for these products, and if you allow them to go shop from a showroom of another kind, that's great, but they get information about potential options for their homes. And then on visualization, some people think you have to visualize your exact plan, which is more expensive, but if you're showing representative bathrooms, kitchens, to let the buyers maneuver products in a representative option, they get it, is what we're finding. It doesn't have to be their exact floor plan, and it's a whole lot quicker to stand it up and offer to them that way.
Well, and you are absolutely right. The first adopters of the technology were the high volume production builders, right? Because you kind of need scale at first to kind of develop the solutions and the products, and that's how the world works. I will tell you today, and it's interesting on VR tours in particular, we also thought, oh, it's for production builders because they'll do it for this plan and they reuse that plan in communities, so it makes all the sense in the world. We have so many custom builders doing the actual custom home, and the reason they do it, one, it is to help the consumer visualize and make selections and things like that, but it's also just they cannot imagine what you're going to build for them, and they use it kind of as an insurance tool in a way. It's inspirational. You can see your house, but they actually can see, oh, those floor to ceiling windows, what is that actually going to be? Because how many times have you gotten into it and they thought they wanted this, but then when they saw it, that's not what they wanted, and you end up eating it, right? Because, or you have to make a decision. You're either going to make them pay for it, and that's contentious, or you have to eat it. But the cost of these VR tours is so affordable, it's worth it. So I would love to sit down with you because so many custom builders are actually going down this path, and it is affordable, and you can do it.
I agree with you. And we showed it, right, with Ken's technology yesterday on his keynote. We used the technology for $3 million homes, and today we showed you an example of D.R. Horton homes, which are a fraction of that cost, right? So the technology is becoming affordable, and it's becoming more modular as well. It's not only a cookie cutter approach right now. The technology is becoming, in technological terms, API driven, where you can cut pieces of the technology and utilize just a portion of the code that you want for that specific use case that you need for your own needs.
We're out of time. We've got 1 minute before we need to send you all back. Actually out to the exhibits for one-on-ones. But this has been a great panel.
Mm-hmm.
I was joking that I was going to need an officiating shirt, no need for a whistle or stripes.
No, I mean, my new best friend.
Did we get a picture of that? We got it on video.
No, you got it on video.
We'll do like some sort of video effects on that. I think there's a spirit of cooperation here, which is really remarkable.
We have a shared mission.
Yeah.
We really have a shared mission.
I think that's one of the cool things that's happened with this event is that, I don't know, from the beginning is everybody was sharing the mission. Let's kick used houses' ass.
Yeah.
And so this has been a great, version of that. I encourage you all to learn more about these platforms and consult more with these really smart people. And now go out and have some good meetings. Thanks, everyone.